name brand matters at quarterback. Like when you have that veneer of like a franchise quarterback, if you're tagged that way, so to speak, in people's minds, you're perceived one way. If you get traded or you leave, you're available once or twice. You're perceived differently. You're perceived more as a journeyman than a franchise quarterback. So I mentioned the group of Dak and Jared Goff, and you could still put Carson Wentz because he hasn't been consistently great in his career. And say, what's the real difference between them and, say, Kirk Cousins or Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Who got upper middle class deals. They didn't kind of reset the market. Or even, I know Teddy Bridgewater doesn't throw it as much, but look at his quarterback win-loss record. And he seems to win a whole lot, right? Why are guys perceived differently? I think it's largely perception. Derek Carr at one point was seen as among the best young quarterbacks in the game, and he was playing like that once upon a time. When Andrew Luck was the next big thing. And he hasn't been able to sustain that, consistently, that high level of play. But he's shown enough of it that he's usually better, or has been so far better than the options to replace him. So Derek Carr is a starting quarterback in the NFL. But that's something different than being a franchise quarterback. A guy who, that's the quarterback, we're going to leave him alone, we're not going to ask any questions about it. He has correctly identified the way he's perceived I think, around the NFL, which is he's a starter. Is he a franchise quarterback? That remains a question. So when he says he has something to prove, I agree with him. Can he not? We've seen him hit high levels. Can he hit a high enough level to be considered a franchise guy and then sustain it?
Yeah, I agree with you to a degree. I think he has dialed in on himself pretty well, right? The way people perceive him around the league is, he's not quite that franchise quarterback. I will say this, though, about Derek Carr. His performance is better than people give him credit for, right? If you compared he and Jimmy Garoppolo last year, who takes his team to the Super Bowl and has an opportunity to win it, really one throw away from them upsetting Kansas City and all the hype that we have around Patrick Mahomes. If you look at Derek Carr, 4,000 yards last year, right? I think he throws 4 or 5 fewer touchdowns than Garoppolo and 4 or 5 fewer interceptions than Garoppolo. Now, this year will be telling for him, right? A 4,000-yard season last year, he needs to start stacking them one on the other. They go get Ruggs. They get another running back to help them out. They have a good offensive line. They get another receiver down in the third. So they have guys, and they're building around him. To say that he has been disrespected, I would say you just got to grow thick skin. All you got to do is compare it to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He is a first-round Hall of Famer. What does Stephen A. call him? A bad man, or whatever title he calls him, right? He's got this name for him. They just tried to replace him, right? There's no respect in the NFL, right? It is earned each and every year. That's just the nature of the business. And it has begun to change recently because how impactful young quarterbacks have been in our game. And so I would say for Derek Carr, just get thick skin, man. That's what you're going to have because no one will ever just keep handing it over like what you're saying, Max, when you say, you hear the keys to the car, no one's ever going to question you. He hasn't put himself in that upper echelon. But the reality is this, the difference between if you put him with the San Francisco 49ers, I believe he would be the same guy as Garoppolo, right? I think he's going to do the same thing. It's because the team built around him. What happens for quarterbacks in the NFL is that people identify them a certain way and think, oh, this guy's not very good because his team's not very good. As much as we want to give credit to quarterbacks in the league, very few, and when I say very few, like 3, 4 a year can really take their team and add maybe 2 wins to their record. Not a whole lot of guys are going to be out, in that category. That's just reality. But people all of a sudden say, oh, he's not a good quarterback or he's not for the Raiders. The Raiders would have a hard time going to replace him for the system that they're in. It would not be an easy transition for them.
You know something,
now,
Jeff?
Would Tom Brady have been an upgrade? For sure. But how many times has Tom Brady hit the market, right? And that's because Brady's going to change the culture of your team as well, not just be a good quarterback. You follow what I'm saying?
I do. Here's the thing about Garoppolo, though. He starts for the Patriots. He's 2-0. Okay, and by the way, Belichick wants him to replace Brady. That tells you a lot about Garoppolo. And then who wants him? Shanahan. and he goes to San Francisco, and San Francisco can't buy a win before he gets there. Goes 5-0, gets hurt. Well, maybe the team all turned around, but when he got hurt, Shanahan couldn't do anything with the rest of the team and any replacement quarterback. They lost almost every game. Then Garoppolo comes back. They win almost every game, and they have a lead in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. So we see he's not a big, strong-armed guy. Like Garoppolo doesn't have elite, eye-popping talent, and yet all the guy does is win. So I hear you comparing Derek Carr and Garoppolo's stats, and I appreciate the difference in the kind of cultures and franchises they go to. But Garoppolo took a franchise that couldn't win, and with him they couldn't lose, and then they couldn't win, and then they couldn't lose again, right? Carr has been on the same franchise his whole career. And in Oakland, he has one winning season. So I agree with you. I think he's a starting caliber quarterback. But there are two things working against him in terms of perception. One, he doesn't put up big fantasy numbers. He puts up nice numbers, right? And then two, he doesn't have winning seasons, only one of them. Now, he has a couple 7-9 seasons. And to tell you the truth, Jeff, in my mind, 7-9 is like league average. It's like a 500-ish team. A break one way or another goes your way. Maybe you could easily wind up 8-8, 9-7. But the bottom line is, in his entire career, except for 1 year, he's always lost more than he's won, and he's never put up big eye-popping numbers. So the perception of him is that he's a starter but not a franchise quarterback. I think that's the correct perception. He hasn't proven himself franchise. Are you saying he's better than just a starter?
I think he has the ability. I will say this. I think you pair him with Shanahan and you pair him with John Lynch in San Francisco, you would have a different take on his ability, right? I think when you put him now, Mayock and Gruden may turn it around. They may get rolling. They've added a lot of really good football players, and they continue to build it the right way. It's going to take time to kind of see. But that's what I'm saying. The organization that quarterbacks go to are so much more impactful than people give them credit for.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.